Hi, my name is Bianca Ceballos, and I'll be doing a first grade lesson on alphabetizing. So to start off, I would have the class gather onto the carpet to start the lesson. The carpet is in front of the whiteboard, so um, I would want them there to so they can be focused on what I'm writing on the board. So on the whiteboard, I would have it set up by writing already the alphabet on the board, even though it's on the wall most likely. I I want it to be bigger for them on the board. So I'd write it on the board, and then I would begin the discussion by saying, today we will practice using the letter of the alphabet to sort words in a different way. We're going to learn how to alphabetize, which means to sort things by the order of the letters in a word. We can also call this putting this in alphabetical order. So right there, I have two definitions, two new words that I want the students to know, um, which would be alphabetize and alphabetical order. So I would write those two words also on the board, so that way when I'm talking about it, they can visually see the word and make that connection so they know what it means also. Um, Once we make that discussion about the definitions, I will display five different words that I will model how to put in alphabetical order. Um, I made an example right here on my little board, but um, on my whiteboard, I just wrote the five words. But in the classroom, I would have it on sheets of paper, like on big sheets, like on regular sheets of paper, and write the word big on it for the class to see when they're sitting on the carpet. The reason why I would do this is because it would be a lot easier for me to maneuver the words first, second, third, and fourth, and fifth, rather than erasing it and then rewriting it. It would just be a lot easier for first grade students to visually see that. Um, so I would demonstrate how to alphabetize them in order. I would let them know that we have to look at the first letter of the word. So one of my words was apple. So I would talk to them and I would let them know that A is the first letter, and since it is the beginning of the first letter of the alphabet, then that's one of the words that go first. Now I have another word that starts with A, which is ant. So I would pause to introduce the fact that if there's two words that begin with the same letter, we have to look at the second letter of the word. So I would show them how to look at the second letter of the word on both of the words, and we will determine by looking at the alphabet that I wrote on the board which one would be first and which one would be second. So after I have demonstrated how to put all five words in alphabetical order, I will send them off to their desks, and their desks are already grouped ideally. Um, in this first grade classroom that I was going to work in, it's already grouped. So I'd have them be in groups, and in their groups, I'll give each group a paper like this, which is the letter of the alphabet, and I'll also give each group five index cards with words on them. Each group will have the same words and the same sheet so they can look at. Everybody on their desk also has something like this, like a strip taped on their desk. But it's just different ways for them to see the alphabet in front of them. So as a group, they would put those five index cards in order together, and I want them to put it in order. And the first, and not that nobody gets a prize, but words of encouragement is the best thing to praise them. Um, but once they finished, each member in the group would raise their hand. I would walk over to check on them. I would be monitoring the class, walking around, making sure everyone truly does understand what they are doing. Once I feel like either when all the groups are done or when the majority of the class is finished with this, um, I would keep them at their desk, but I would go to the front of the classroom to the board because all the desks are like facing the board, and I would discuss with the class and make sure that we all have the same main idea of how to alphabetize before we move on to the independent practice. So in the independent practice, they have a worksheet, and their worksheet will look something like this. So on the worksheet, they're going to alphabetize 5 words again. And I'm keeping the same sequence of 5 words so that way, since I modeled it, they practice it as a group. I would still want them to um, stay with the same rhythm of things. And on the worksheet, I have 5 words on the bottom. And these words, ideally, these are made up words. But I would have these 5 words be from their like um, spelling list of the week or um, popcorn words, sight words, words that they practice with the most. I would have those words on those worksheet. That way, it's words that they are familiar with, and they would cut out the bottom all 5 words, and they would put it in alphabetical order by themselves. So once they do that, they're finished. If there are students that need more time, if they need support, the struggling students, then I will do my best to give them one-on-one assistance during the independent working time. If I need to extend the lesson for certain students, because there is always those students that finish and catch on things very quickly, then I will create a sentence. I will ask the students to create a sentence for each word. So on the same worksheet, they can on the back, since they are words that they are already familiar with, whether it's on, like I said, on their vocabulary or spelling list or sight words, I want them to be able to create a sentence, which is always good practice. To close out the whole lesson, I will review again what does alphabetize mean and alphabetical order, still keeping them at their desk. That way, there's not a whole bunch of moving because it would get too chaotic. But that way, they can still see me when I walk to the board and I point to the words, alphabetical order, and alphabetize. And I will add one more word. And this word, I wouldn't have it on a paper. Could just write it on the board. And it'll be like a 6 word added to the 5 that I modeled in the beginning. And I will ask the class. So this wouldn't be a small discussion. It'll be like a big discussion with the class to close out the lesson. So this is like everybody's exit ticket in a sense, to where I want to make sure that everybody does have an understanding of how to alphabetize it. Um, Everybody in the class is usually very vocal about things. There are some students that are more to themselves, but as a class, we would discuss where this one word that I added, this new word, which is our 6 word, where it belongs on the board. Um, is it the very first one? Is it the third one? And we would talk about why. Um, if students aren't volunteering, I would draw their names, randomly pick on somebody. But the class is usually good about being vocal about it, so I don't think I would have a problem with that. And we would just determine where that word belongs as a class, and yeah, that's how I would finish my lesson for the first grade alphabetizing lesson. Thank